Hi guys, it is currently 1:30 on Monday and I am in the reading zone. I am currently reading Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. I've already changed my TBR like multiple times. I can't make a decision. I'm too bad. I'm too indecisive. Can't stick to my choices. But I am, yes, reading Keeper of the Lost Cities. I'm thinking of using it for the challenge of purple on the cover because, as you can see, it's got purple on the cover. But I'll probably decide at the end which books I'm going to use for which challenge because I want to do them all. So, but yeah, purple is a good colour and it's on the book. The whole cover is actually kind of purple. This is a real purple book. But yeah, I am currently 90 pages through Keeper of the Lost City. I'm not entirely sure why I chose this book because it was quite long, but I was just really in the mood for it. So yeah, it's about a girl called Sophie who finds out she's an elf. And there's also like lost cities like Atlantis and stuff. I'm kind of enjoying it. It's pretty fast paced. I think it's a middle grade or like young adult, like teen, I guess. And yeah, there's not been anything boring because we started the action on like page 5. So it's keeping me interested, it's keeping me entertained, and I'm hoping I can get through it reasonably quickly. I'm just about to start the audiobook of Only Humans by Sylvia Neuville. Is that how you say it? And that is the third book in the Themis files. I can't say any of these words. I'm not very good at it. We know this. And yeah, that's the third book. I just finished the second book like yesterday, and the audiobooks are pretty good so far, but I've heard the person in the third book has a very annoying voice, so I'm hoping it doesn't drive me too crazy. But yeah, I'm hoping to finish that audiobook today, hopefully, or early tomorrow morning. Hi, it is currently 5 o'clock. We're still on Monday, and I've had a shower, clearly, and I'm wearing my Harry Potter pyjamas because I just really want to dedicate myself to that book life. But I am coming to update you that I have read now I'm like 20% through the audiobook of Only Human, and so far it's kind of boring. Like, I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it, but I don't know, I feel like a lot of people love this series. I really enjoyed the first 2 books. I gave them both 4 stars. I had a good time reading them, but I think because I've binged them in like pretty quick succession, I'm kind of a bit burnt out of the like style of the books. They're told in like audio formats and like diaries and all that kind of stuff, similar to Illuminate, but a lot more writing. Like there's no like pictures or anything like that, but it's all like dialogue, so you don't really get a lot of like thoughts. But yeah, I'm just kind of bored. I don't want to get into like a slump on the first day of reading because I don't like the book I'm reading. So yeah, hopefully Keeper of the Lost Cities will keep things moving, and I'm sure the spirit of Harry Potter is with me, so give me some good books. Me if I was in a graphic novel. Wow. Okay, but why is this the best graphic novel I've ever seen? Like, iconic. Hi guys, it is currently 11 o'clock on Monday. I figured I would just round up my day of reading. So to recap, I am reading Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger, and I'm on page 130, I believe, of this. I'm really enjoying it actually now. It's really picked up in the last like 30 pages or so. There's a lot of like magical creatures and just like general, just really like fun magical elements like lost cities and magic and animals like dinosaurs and mammoths and like all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's just giving me like really warm and fuzzy feelings, and I'm really enjoying it. It's got a non-human main character because she's an elf, and it's got purple on the cover, and I meant to read it last year, so we're covering a lot of bases with this one. I am reading Only Human by Sylvan Neuvel. Is that how you say it? We don't know. And I'm not really enjoying that. I'm about 35% through, I think, so like page 120-ish. I'm not having a great time with it, to be honest. It's quite disappointing, I think. Like, we're kind of just saying the same thing over and over again. Like, it's real boring because literally, like, nothing's happening. Like, it's so dull. And because the story's being told from, like, different points of view, it feels like we're just saying the same thing over and over again. And I just don't really care anymore. Like, most of my favourite character isn't in it anymore. My two favourite characters actually aren't in it anymore. Obviously no spoilers to who that is, but if you've read the series, you know the like main two that aren't there anymore. And so I just don't care that much anymore. I think like the most dynamic characters have gone, and now we're just kind of left with one we don't really care about because we were introduced to them like late last book, another one who we didn't really see enough of to care about, two who I do care about, but like just nothing's happening and I'm really bored. I just kind of want anything to happen, like we're just talking and saying nothing. And I have just finished the Backstages Volume 1 by James Tinian. I didn't want to read too many. I'm not a massive graphic novel reader, but I figured that just like reading one series would help boost my books read. The rest I'm reading are like traditional books, but I'm actually really glad I decided to pick it up. I'd only had like one person talk about it, like Chelsea from Chelsea Dolling Reads. I'll leave her channel below, and I really trust her opinion with things. If she says it's good, I'm gonna pick it up. And I think it's really underrated. It's a graphic novel about a boy who joins the backstage crew of like a theatre production at his high school, and backstage there's like a whole random magical world with like a bunch of random rooms and stuff, and it's really cool. It's surprisingly so funny. Like, it's really like subtle, but it's just like naturally very funny, and I just found myself smiling all throughout it. It's quite wordy, but I think I finished it in about 45 minutes, and I had a great time reading it. I am so excited to pick up the next volume. I think there's 8 volumes, so I'm going to be having a great time reading them. And yeah, if you like a fun, bright, super engaging graphic novel, one that's got like a beautiful art style, it's so colourful and so fun to look at, like every page is just so engaging and just has a generally fun plotline, very diverse characters, and all in all it's great, so I really hope it continues to be great. It is currently 9 o'clock on Tuesday, and I've just read about 40 pages of Keeper of the Lost Cities, and I'm having a great time. We have just entered a school type setting, a magical school type setting, which is really exciting. What could you want other than a magical school setting? Because it seems like we're going to be spending a large majority of the book there, seeing as we're on page 170. I think there's 500 pages, and we're already at the school, so I feel like it's probably just going to be like another 300 pages of school activity, so that's always exciting. I'm not entirely sure what is going to be the plot for the next like 300 or so pages, because apart from her realising she's an elf and moving to the elf world, there's not really a plot. Like, currently she's just like discovering the elf world, which is cool, but, you know, obviously there's like a climax to a book, and like, I don't know what that's gonna be, because nothing, like, there's nothing dramatic has happened at all except for her coming to this world. So I'm just about to listen to more of the audiobook of Only Human. Like I said yesterday, I'm bored to tears, so yeah, I don't really want to listen to it, but the quicker I listen to it, the quicker it'll end. So I'm just so disappointed, because I really think if like the first two books had been longer, then this could have just been a duology and would have been much better. This is so weird because I'm used to saying like bye, but I mean you can see me in like 2 seconds. So I am currently 2 hours away from the end of my audiobook. Those 2 hours couldn't go quick enough. What is the point of this book? If you've read this book, tell me what the point of it is. Like, truly, what is the point? Also, Eva, most annoying character ever. Can't stand her. Just want to throttle her. She's really irritating. I don't like her. I don't really like any of these characters. Like, they're not doing anything. They're not. I just genuinely don't know what the point of this book is. Like, it's driving me a little bit crazy, but I'm just trying to finish it now because I really want it to stop. So, yeah, that's pretty much the only update. To be honest, at this point I'm vlogging just so I don't have to read any more of Only Human or listen to any more of Only Human. I'm like, if I just keep talking, I don't have to listen to it anymore. I'm gonna murder Eva. That's all. It is currently 11 o'clock on day 2, and I haven't spoken to you in a while, so I thought I would do a roundup of everything that I've read today. So I have finished Only Human, and I gave the first 2 books 4 stars. I had a great time reading them. They were just super fun and interesting and engaging, and overall just a good time. There were quite a lot of sciencey sentences that I feel could have been diluted a little bit, but apart from that, I had a good time reading the first 2. But disappointingly, I gave the 3rd book 2 stars. I did not enjoy it at all, really. Like, there wasn't anything glaringly wrong with it. There just wasn't really anything right with it. Yeah, so I gave that 2 stars because I was just bored to death the whole time. I really don't know what the point of it was. It was a very philosophical book. Like, the first 2 touched briefly on philosophy, but the 3rd book was a bit heavy-handed for me. I was reading for a sci-fi book, not for a review on humans and how we live. That wasn't what I signed up for. Like, that wasn't why I was reading this series. That wasn't really what this series was for. I mean, it did have a lot of politics in it, just like general world politics, but that wasn't like the main focus. Like, it was a sci-fi book and I wasn't there for philosophy, you know. If I wanted to read a philosophy book, I'd do that. So yeah, overall it just was boring. I didn't care about any of the characters. They were very bland and didn't really do anything and just kept repeating themselves, and I just don't know what the point of it was. They could have made the second book a bit longer and just got rid of the third book. So that was quite disappointing. And after that I started Girls with Sharp Sticks on audiobook, and again, so far is quite lackluster. I'm about 2 hours into the audiobook, I think, 2 or 3 hours, and it's just, to me, feels very like We Set the Dark on Fire, which is a book I really liked. This book, I can never pronounce the author's name, and I gave that book 4 stars, or 4.5 stars. I really loved that book, and this feels very similar, but just worse. I feel like I got what I wanted out of We Set the Dark on Fire, and I know obviously it's not this book's fault that I already read that book, but it just feels like a not so good version. So I'm currently on page 270 of Keeper of the Cities, and I'm really enjoying it. I really like the school setting. I really like the group of friends that our main character Sophie is making. It makes the book fun and interesting, and just all the characters in general are really fun, and I really like a lot of them, and it makes a change from Only Human, where I didn't like any of them. And yeah, I'm having a good time reading it, but I'm just so confused what we're doing, because there's literally no antagonist. Like, it kind of reminds me of the first Harry Potter book in that for most of the book we're kind of just like getting to know Hogwarts and the wizarding world, but there was always Voldemort in the back of like the picture. We always knew he was like the villain and he was gonna do something. Like, we knew who the bad guy was and who was gonna cause the drama of the series. Like, we knew that was like the villain. There's not a villain in this book. There's no aim, there's no villain. It's just, we're at this magical school, which is great, but I'm just so confused what we're doing here. Yeah, in total, oh gosh, how many pages have I read? Today's page count is I read 240 pages of Only Human. I read, oh gosh, how many? 130 or 140 pages of Keeper of the Cities, and I've read about 80 pages of Girls with Sharp Sticks. So that is 410 pages. It's 11 o'clock at night. No one does maths at this time. My brain's already asleep. We're just going to accept the fact that this is the location of which most of my vlogging will take place, but I'm really enjoying the readathon so far. I'm hoping to start enjoying some books soon, but yeah, I will see you tomorrow. Hi, it is currently 2 o'clock on Wednesday. We are officially 3 days into the readathon, and my reading is going pretty well. I am just about halfway done with Girls with Sharp Sticks. Yeah, Girls with Sharp Sticks. I'm like 5 hours into the audiobook and it's like 10 hours, so yeah, I think that it's 400 pages. I checked on Goodreads, and yeah, so I've read like 200 pages so far. I'm not particularly enjoying it, to be honest. Like, just kind of boring. Like, it was kind of genred as a sci-fi, but there is literally no sci-fi to it. Like, it's just a dystopian, and yeah, it's just real boring. but I'm having a much better time with Keeper of the Lost Cities. I am almost done with it. I'm like 400 pages and it's just under 500 pages, so I should finish that today. I've got a friend coming over for a few hours, so I probably won't get any reading done until this evening, but I think I should get it done today. And I'm really enjoying it actually. Now we've kind of got like a plot, like we've got not really a villain, kind of a villain, but we've got like a mystery, and like now we actually are getting like a proper plot. Not that I wasn't enjoying it before, but it was a little bit aimless for me, and I'm really enjoying it. I really like Sophie as a character. It is a bit tropey in the fact that she's very much like the chosen one who's doing stuff that no one's been able to do before, you know, like the classic, but that's not really taking away from my enjoyment. I really like the supporting cast, I really like the relationship dynamics, I really like the setting, so all in all I'm having a pretty good time reading it, and now I'm really like sucked in and I need to order the second book because I'm intrigued and I'm really into this series. So yeah, audiobook wise, I'm just a little bit into Amy Rogers' Epic Detour by Morgan Matson. I've read it before, this is a reread, and yeah, I'm kind of just dabbling in that, but I might finish that after I finish one of my other two books. And yeah, that's pretty much the reading update for now. Also, it's boiling here and I'm just staying in bed because you can't do anything when you're chronically ill and it's like 35 degrees, so a good time for a readathon to be happening because I have a lot of reading time. But yeah, that's all for now. 10 hours and 35 minutes too long. It is currently 11 on Wednesday, but I have not made a lot of progress with my reading this afternoon. I was really tired after seeing my friend, and then I've been quite anxious this evening, so I haven't been that focused on reading. I've just been watching a lot of Reading Rush vlogs. Not that productive, but I was having a great time, so I am like so close to finishing Keeper of the Lost Cities, but I'm just too tired to continue. I don't know what's happening, my brain's tired, but I'm really enjoying it, and I'm contemplating immediately buying the second book because I really want to read it, but I have so many other books to read. I'm like, do I need it? We'll see if my willpower is strong enough. Keep you updated. Still got like 4 hours of Girls with Sharp Sticks left. I don't like it. It's very 2012 dystopian, like gives me kind of like Divergent vibes. Like the plot is not similar at all, but I don't know, there's just a vibe about it that's very like 2012. It's not like the world's worst book, I'm just not enjoying it. That's all for this evening. I'll speak to you tomorrow, I guess. Are we surprised by my location? No. This video is just going to be called my Reading Rush vlog feet my bed because that's the only place I hang out. But yes, hello, it's Thursday. I have not done a lot today because it's been like 36 degrees and my chronically ill body is not a fan of that, so I figured I didn't want to push myself too much in the reading department because I didn't want to like burn myself out when we've still got like 3 days left of the readathon. I want to finish strong, so like I have read quite a bit, but like not loads. I finished Keeper of the Lost Cities this morning and I really liked it. I had a great time reading it. I'm contemplating buying the second one straight away because I really just want to continue with it because I was really getting into it. The vibe was good. I ended up giving that 4.5 stars. It's just a really enjoyable read. It's like fantasy, but not like inaccessible. It's fantasy. I think it's counted in a grade because the main character is 12, but I think there's like 8 or 9 books out, so I assume it's kind of like Harry Potter where it like shifts more into young adult as she gets older. But it's just such a fun fantasy if you are looking for something to like get into, because there's like 8 or 9 books, so you're set for quite a while. I would highly recommend it. I had a great time reading it, and I also finished Girls with Sharp Sticks this morning. I ended up giving it 2 stars in the end. I just didn't really care about it like at all. The last like 10 to 15% was like relatively interesting, and I was like kind of like, oh, what's gonna happen? But yeah, it just didn't do anything for me. I didn't care about the characters, I didn't care about the plot, it was just boring. I feel like the second book would be quite a lot better, just like based off what the first book is about and then what the second book is going to be about. So I may end up giving it a go, but it's definitely not top of my list, that's for sure. So that's 4 books down on my readathon, so I'm mostly on track to read 7 books. I'm hoping. I picked up The Female of the Species by Mindy McGuinness today. I'm only on page like 30 or 40 because it's too hot and tired, so I only read a little bit, like the plot, but I'm not a big fan of the writing. I'm hoping it'll grow on me, just it kind of seems all over the place, and like, you know when like a sentence is overly complicated, I could have just said it like way more simply, making it weird for no reason. I don't know, the writing just feels kind of like jumpy and complicated, so I'm hoping I just kind of get used to it. But yeah, I do like the plot and the characters seem very interesting, so I'm definitely excited to continue on with it. And I also started Bruja Born by Zoraida Cordova, second book in the Brooklyn Bruja series, and I read the first book like a week or 2 ago, and I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm about like 2 hours into the audiobook, and like it's okay so far. I definitely am not liking it as much as the first book. I just don't like the character as much, because the first book follows Alex, and she has 2 sisters in the first book, and this book is now following her younger sister, and I believe the third book is set to follow her older sister. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's the idea. But I just like found Alex way more of a compelling character. I'm just not feeling a lot towards, I can't even remember what her name is, Lula, I think is her name. That's how memorable she is. Like, I'm reading it right now and I don't even know what her name is. So yeah, that's my reading update. Sorry, I have done no other updates today. I just have been too tired and hot to function. I'm sure this won't apply to most of you, but if anyone out there struggles to hold books for any reason, like wrists, shoulders, elbows, if you've got any arm issues at all, or like literally anything that makes holding books difficult, I use this book reader. I think it's like originally for recipe books, so like you can have it open while you're cooking, but it worked really well for reading, and I literally couldn't hold books up before, so it's really handy. I will leave the one I have down in the description box if you want to check it out. If anyone's like, oh, that seems like it'd be helpful, this is what I use. It's pretty great, and I'm glad I discovered it, because otherwise I can't read. It's me. We're back. Am I still in my bed? Yes. Am I still a failure? Yes. Did I read the books I was supposed to? No. So, that's that for me. Turns out I had another busy day, and I thought, you know what? My brain's tired. it doesn't want to take in words. I'm on like page 130 of the female of the species, and I've got like 2 hours left of my audiobook, Bruhaborn. Is that what it's called? You can tell I'm switched on. Yeah, I mean, I basically feel the same way as I did yesterday. I really do like the story of the female of the species, but the writing is just so confusing. The sentences, like the word order is just so weird. Like, am I the only one that found this? Like, please tell me someone else found this, because I feel like a little bit like I'm going insane, because the sentences just seem confusing. Like, the way they're constructed just seems like the unnatural way to do it. Like, it doesn't flow. Maybe that's the point of it, because it is quite an intense subject matter. I don't know. I'm loving the story. I really like the characters, but the writing is just putting me off a little bit. It's about a girl whose sister was raped and killed. I think in essence, Alex, the main character, wants revenge for her sister because the person that committed those crimes walked free because there wasn't enough evidence to convict him. Like, everyone kind of knows he did it, but he didn't go to jail for it. So yeah, Bruhaborn, I just, like yesterday, I just don't really feel attached to Lula as a character. Also, I don't know whether I'm dumb or the book just didn't make it clear enough. I'm probably just dumb, but like, I thought Lula was the younger sister, and then I was like listening to it, and she was like, I'm the eldest sister, and I'm like, just rewind that second. I've got through well over half this book thinking she was like 15. I think that's a me issue, but it makes it like less believable, because like her dumb decisions, I'm like, bitch, you're like 19, what are you doing? And like, if you've read the first one and you know like the things that go on in the first book, like her actions in the second book just make no sense, because that you would just think it through shortly after everything that happened. Main characters being dumb is truly the most annoying thing in the world. Like, oh, they're just so dumb. They're just so dumb. Like, I can feel myself losing brain cells as I'm reading it. Like, when main characters make a dumb decision, I just lose a brain cell every time. I've got different Harry Potter pyjamas on. Okay, bye. It is currently, what time is it? It's like 9:20 on Saturday morning. I am currently on page 190 of The Female of the Species, and I'm really into it. The main character, Alex, is amazing. I'm literally in love with her. She's like such an interesting character. Like, she's such a complex character. I'm like shook. Like, she's just like amazing. And yeah, I'm just really into this book, and I just wanted to stop by because I just needed to say that I'm really into this book, because I'm really into this book. It's just great. If you have it on your shelf and you haven't picked it up, pick it up. Unless I come back in 2 seconds and say the ending sucked, but fingers crossed we're on a roll. So yeah, I'm having a great time. I hope everyone else is having a great time. It is Sunday. Did I vlog yesterday? Only a tiny bit. I am not on a good roll. I had another busy day. The reading, we got distracted, but I have just got to page 255 of Female of the Species, so I've got like 90 pages left, I think, so I'm definitely going to finish that day, because I need to read those 7 books, and I've got just about 2 hours left of Bruhaborn, so I can definitely finish that. That'll bring me up to 6 books, and I'm almost done with Amy and Roger's Epic Detour, so I'm going to finish that as well today, and then I will have completed the readathon. I actually haven't done the challenge of reading a book with a movie adaptation because literally none of the books I have to read have a movie adaptation, so we're just gonna pretend that one doesn't exist. But yeah, I'm really enjoying The Female of the Species. It's a very interesting book. I would definitely recommend it, but you should be wary of trigger warnings. There's a lot of heavy subject matter. I'll put all the trigger warnings in the description, but trigger warnings for rape, paedophilia. There's a lot of animal cruelty and animal death, so if that isn't something you can handle, I would definitely avoid this book. It wasn't something I was expecting going in, so I just thought I'd mention that. And yeah, like murder, all sorts. It's a dark book, but I'm really enjoying it. The main character, Alex, is just like one of the most compelling characters I've ever read about. She's just so interesting, but I'm not particularly enjoying Bruja. Like, it's fine. I'm not like hating it, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to get above 3-star because it's just very average. Amy and Roger's Epic Detour is a reread for me, but I must have read it like 4 or 5 years ago, so I definitely didn't remember a lot about it, and like there's definitely nothing wrong with it, but it's just again quite average, and it's very insta-lovey, which is hard for me to connect with, so yeah. Sarah, you're giving me war flashbacks to the Percy Jackson movie, and I don't appreciate it. I'm gonna have to think about how bad this was again. But seriously, subscribe to Sarah. I'll leave her link down below. She's great, but she's watching the Percy Jackson Sea of Monsters movie, and like I literally blocked this from my mind. I hate it so much. But Percy Jackson was robbed. What was that? If you've read this, message me on Twitter because I'm shook. I don't know what to do with my feelings. There's too many. I'm crying. Help me. Send help. It's currently 11:15 on Sunday, so it is officially the end of the Reading Rush readathon. I have officially finished 8 books, and I have done all the challenges except the adaptation one because I literally had no books on my TBR that fit that category, so yeah, that's the only one I didn't complete, but I'm really pleased with the reading I got done. I'm gonna go over the books I finished today and then just like wrap up all the books I read in the week. So today I finished Bruja Born, the second book in the Brooklyn Bruja series by Zoraida Cordova, and I gave it 3 stars. It just was pretty bland. The characters were not that interesting. The plot was quite interesting, but I just didn't really feel engaged with the story. I feel like the plot had a lot of potential, but I think it just fell flat for me. I then finished Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson, and I also gave that 3 stars. This was a reread, and I read it a couple of years ago and gave it 5 stars, but I gave it 3 stars this time around. It was fine. Again, it was very insta-lovey, which I think is my main problem with it, but yeah, if you don't know, Amy and Roger's Epic Detour is about a girl called Amy whose dad has recently died in an accident, and she is moving to Connecticut, and a family friend called Roger offers to drive with her there on a road trip. Along the way they make some details from their original plan and discover a lot about themselves and each other. But yeah, it just wasn't that engaging. I really liked the discussion around grief and family, but apart from that, I just didn't really care. And then, as you just saw, I finished Female of the Species by Mindy McGuinness, and I gave that 4.5 stars. It is about a girl called Alex whose sister has been raped and killed, and the man who did it was not prosecuted, and she struggles with her grief and her anger, and it discusses rape culture, slut shaming, all that kind of stuff, and it's very dark. It was a lot darker than I expected it to be. I loved the conversation around rape culture, around the conversation around girl hate and why we pit ourselves against each other and why we shouldn't, and it just covered so many topics and was such an impactful book. And then I have just finished volume 2 of The Backstages by James Tinian the 6th, I think, and I gave that 3 stars. I gave the first one 4 stars. I enjoyed it a bit more, but the third one was enjoyable. It just wasn't as good as the first one for me. So yeah, in total I've read 8 books, and I'll just run through them quickly to sum up. The first book I read was volume 1 of The Backstages, and that was 110 pages. I gave The Backstages 4 stars. I then finished Only Human, the third book in the Themis Files by Sylvain Neuvel. Only Human was 336 pages and I gave it 2 stars. I then finished Girls with Sharp Sticks by Suzanne Young, gave that 2 stars, and that was 400 pages. I then finished Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. I gave that 4.5 stars. Loved that book, and that was 496 pages. I then finished Bruja Born, the second book in the Brooklyn Bruja series by Zoraida Cordova. I gave that 3 stars, and that was 336 pages. I then finished Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson, and I gave that 3 stars, and it was 343 pages. I then finished The Female of the Species by Mindy McGuinness, and I gave that 4.5 stars, and it was 352 pages. And then I just finished volume 2 of The Backstages by James Tinian the 6th, and I gave that 3 stars, and that was 112 pages. So yeah, and the challenges for a book with purple on the cover, I went with The Backstages. For a book that you were supposed to read last year, I went with Keeper of the Lost Cities. A book with 5 or more words in the title is The Female of the Species. For a book you read in the same place, I went with Bruja Born. A book with a non-human main character, I went with Only Human. And to read an author's first book, I went with Amy and Roger's Epic Detour. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this week went. I definitely accomplished everything I hoped to, and I'm really pleased with the amount of reading I got done. I hope you all had a wonderful reading rush, whether you read less than you wanted to, more than you wanted to, or just as much as you were expecting to. I hope you enjoyed the books that you read, and let me know what your favourite book you read this week was. I would love to know. My favourite was Keeper of the Lost Cities. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching. Bye!